Growing up, aging, and the passage of time are problems that I didn't know I had until I started my mushroom therapy. Once I engaged in communication with machine elves, they made me realize that this is something I subconsciously struggle with, and as always, they offered me incredible solutions and explanations that I think will help you to understand how to handle the journey through this existence. From talking to you, I know that most of you watching 434 videos are young, and I know that you are at the beginning of your adventure in this reality, and this video should be helpful in understanding how growing up, getting older, and going through life will affect your perception of reality. The rest of you, like me, are halfway through life or are even older, and I know that you start questioning the nature of all of this, and you probably got to a stage where you realize that it's time to reevaluate what's going on in your life and in your head. We need to start by saying that life is really short. Depending on how you want to spend your life, these 30,000 days here on average can feel like a moment, or they can take forever to go through. But there's an important reason that it feels short, and it's because of the stages of life that your existence here is divided into. The first stage is childhood that lasts until you're 10. This is probably the most important stage that shapes you for the rest of your life, and as you get older, you'll realize that your life will be just a memory of this first decade here. The second stage is teenage years and adolescence until you're 20. This is when you start shaping your opinions and your personality. From 20 to about 30, you start building a career and you discover what this life has to offer. Next stage, between 30 and 50, is usually when we have families and when we raise children. This is when we're supposed to achieve our goals and find our true calling. The last stage is 50 onwards, and this is the stage where you will either pay for or benefit from what you accomplished in the last 50 years of life. Now I'm going to tell you what machine elves have to say about the stages we go through in this reality, but first I want you to consider supporting 434. What we're doing here could be timeless and could be of benefit to future generations. I want you to be a part of it. You can help out through joining Patreon or Subscribestar. It is quick and easy. Or by donating through PayPal where you don't need an account, by cryptocurrency or bank transfer. I'm really grateful for all your help and for making all of this possible. And as a thank you, I can offer you access to regular podcasts, early video uploads, and monthly Q&A sessions. I'm not sure if you know this, but there's no aging code in your DNA, and in theory, we should live forever. The only reason we age is because of free radical damage in our system. Alien and UFO researchers will tell you that these who created us have lifespans of tens or even hundreds of thousands of years, and they engineered us like that on purpose, so that our lifespans are not too long. This is why this existence feels so painfully short for many of us. Machine elves confirmed this and explained to me why we don't get to stay here for too long. They said, life on Earth is not too long because the longer we stay here, the more we move away from what we're made of, and the more we get damaged by being immersed in the slow, dense energy of this world. Those of you who are not comfortable with being human or are not enjoying this life will see this as a blessing. Imagine being stuck in this reality for 80,000 years, having to struggle with human form and everything that comes with it. Also, since machine elves explain that this is training ground for love and other learning processes, I believe that because of life not being too long, you're allowed to experience much more by going repeatedly through different existences. Machine elves told me that every human is made of emotions that they were filled with as a child, and this seems to be a very important truth about our lives. It seems that whatever our environment shapes us to be in the first few years, this is what we will become for the rest of our existence, and it will be a lot of work to change anything about it. They also showed me that one of the most important factors shaping our lives will be the amount of love we receive at the early stages of our journey here, and that's why it is so important that children are part of a loving and nurturing environment that allows them to be well-functioning human beings in this world. If you're ever looking for answers regarding the nature and the root of your mental struggles, look back at what was the emotional environment you grew up in. The teenage years for me personally is the stage of my life that I discuss with machine elves the most. I consider it personally to be a very important stage of my life, if not the most important one so far. It's a period that I'm most nostalgic about, and my mindset is stuck in my late teens. Machine elves addressed this by saying, the reason why you enjoyed it so much was because it was a short period of freedom. Freedom is what you're made of and what you strive for. And this one sentence from them made me realize that it was the last moment in which I was truly free with no obligations, no bills to pay, and no real responsibilities. This is also the time of the most fulfilling emotional growth, and this is when I was the closest to my family and friends. If you're in this stage, I want to let you know that this will be probably one of the best moments of your life. Not necessarily for everybody, but most people will remember it as the moment when life was much easier than what happens later. There's not a day that I don't think about how good it felt to be 18. To those of you struggling with depression, you need to understand that this is also the moment when you will feel completely lost. It is also the moment of realization that the careless years of fun without any accountability are gone, and it's time to start a new, independent life as you enter the next stage, your 20s. In the first half of that stage, you'll be still developing, and something that people don't tell you is that your brain and your frontal lobe in particular will be still growing, and you won't be fully formed physically until you're 25. And during that time, you'll be undergoing a lot of mental and physical changes that will have a profound effect on your state of mind and your well-being. You need to be aware of this, as almost all of the messages I get from people struggling with life are from those who are exactly in this stage of life. Trust me, it gets easier as you get older. And my and Machine Elves' advice is be patient and concentrate on building your life at this stage. This will also be the moment when you will start realizing that your mind undergoes its own developmental changes. From what I observed, it seems that you'll be changing your opinions every 7 to 8 years, irrespectively of what happens around you. Don't be surprised when at the end of your 20s, you become a completely different person than what you were in your teens. It's normal and it's a healthy growth process. The next stage is your 30s, and this is when you start a family. This is a very broad subject, and it would be too much to talk about here in one video, so I'll make 2 separate videos on my discussions with Machine Elves about relationships and children. This is something they talk to me about a lot. And then there's the stage of 40s. This is more or less half of your life, and this is the stage that I'm at now, and there is something about this stage that you need to know. What we call midlife crisis is real, but it's not what everyone considers it to be. I see now everyone around me who is the same age experiencing this. People start feeling lost, looking for an emergency exit from this crazy rat race, and they quit their jobs or dedicate themselves to something completely different than what their lives have been dedicated to so far. This is when people turn inwards looking for answers, when they become spiritual, and when they connect with the energy or God. What you need to know that this is not some kind of a 40th birthday extravaganza. It is the end of your mind and body's resilience to the broken system that we live in. This is when your body starts breaking down, and this is when you realize that you're wasting your life on what is being sold to you. I discussed this with the entities in detail many times, and they're fully aware of the dysfunctional environment that most of us put themselves into. Machine Elves know about our struggles and about the destructive, unpredictable nature of a modern life. They told me that the 9-to-5 lifestyle is not real life, and they said that everything that's important lays outside of that path. Getting to 40 does not trigger a personality crisis. It actually triggers the realization that if you continue on this path, you'll auto-destruct. It is not a midlife crisis, but a midlife awakening. It is a transitional period of your identity. Machine Elves additionally explained that, like your body, your mind also has its capacity to process stress, and it wears out the same way as a physical organ. It becomes less and less resilient to stress, having a physical impact on your body. You use up your resistance reserves, and the stress you were subject to earlier in your life didn't affect you as much as it affects you now. This was a very useful explanation to what I discovered recently, that I don't recover from stressful situations as easy as I used to, and also I'm not as immune to stress as I used to be. I would suggest, if you can, take care of your mind and remove yourself from as many stressful situations in life as possible. Save your reserves for important moments in life. I also noticed a big shift in time perception after 30, and this is definitely something you will notice in later stages of life. The entities explain this in the following way. The older you are, the more experienced you are, and the more structured your perception mechanisms are, and the faster you process and create. That's why you feel like life's happening faster. First steps are slow, but then you build the foundations and you leap much faster. The information becomes much denser and is processed and delivered much faster. It's a simple matter of you becoming more efficient in processing information, allowing you to acquire more knowledge. Although it's a good thing when you become older, at the same time this will require you to handle and process more stimuli, and you can find yourself very often overwhelmed with how much energy will be used up by processing this information. I noticed the same in receiving information uploads from the entities. The The more experienced I became in telepathic communication, the more information I was processing, getting tired quicker. It got to a point where it was clear to the entities that they need to slow down their uploads as I couldn't keep up with them. Although I do not know what life looks like after the age of 40, Machine Elves gave me some information and some guidance as to what happens next and how I should react to my next stages in life. One of the important messages was that aging is also a love process. They said, because everyone here is on the same journey of love, the older we get, the more we start running out of options for emotional stimuli. That's why having a family in later life is so important to generate and receive love. Having children and grandchildren and gaining new family members will keep you in the perpetual state of flow of loving energy. One of the most important messages from them talks about how we're supposed to be okay with growing up and aging. They said, you're getting old and worn down, but that's the process. You're supposed to go with it. You're not supposed to accelerate it, you're not supposed to auto-destroy. Just live your life accordingly, the same age as your body. Just go with it. Be okay with it because that's the process. Of course, all you need to do is take a quick look at the amount of money that is annually spent on plastic surgery and rejuvenation procedures. Most of us are not okay with the process of aging, and they treat it as a big existential threat. We do everything in our power to delay or hide the signs of aging as if it was a disease. Machine Elves addressed that too, and they said many times to me never to pretend to be somebody else, defining fear and anxiety as the foundation of our need to hide any signs of our bodies undergoing natural biological processes. It's important to say that Machine Elves showed me that although it seems like the stages have continuity, from the metaphysical perspective they're separate experiences, not related to each other. This is important when you try to draw conclusions, trying to understand why some things happen in your life in relation to other stages or incidents of your life. You grow and develop based on the experiences that the energy and your higher self decided for you to have, and although they're part of the same existence, they're all separate lessons. The entities explained to me that every stage in our life has its joys. Some have more, some have none. It's important not to get too fixated on this. I personally have a big problem with being stuck in my late teenage years, and Machine Elves told me that instead of appreciating the amazing stage that I was in, I complain now about not being able to repeat it. Appreciate the good moments in every stage of your life. There's a right time for everything. In the same way, some stages have various fears attached to them. I know that one of the biggest problems in every stage that you might have is the anxiety related to the unknown. And the entities also explained to me this is one of the most unreasonable fears. They said that you should never be scared of that which you don't know, and you should enjoy the stage you're in and avoid stress related to not knowing the future. They told me that fear is not a useful emotion. Things always work out. Machine Elves made it clear many times that our life experiences should be narrowed to the present moment, as this is all we have anyways. Past doesn't matter, and you cannot be stuck in the growth process because of your fear. Remember that your eternal consciousness doesn't age, and you need to adjust your understanding of human growth and development accordingly to this simple truth. You remain the same entity that goes through all the stages of life. You might try and change people's perception of the time you have already spent here on Earth, but you will not become somebody else. You will be here with everything that's yours. You'll develop and evolve, but what you have is always here and it doesn't change. And you are who you are because of that. Accept who you are and who you become at every stage of your life. I was shown in many visions that you create your stages and that age is just a number. You need to remember that you always grow. If you're scared of being stuck in one place and not moving, remember that you're always building and creating, even if you don't know it or don't notice it. Don't ever let your perception of your age stop you from doing anything. Don't ever think that you're not compatible with life or that some experiences are not for you. It's almost never too late to take care of things in this reality. Your job here is to accept and fully embrace the state you're currently in and be in tune with what you're supposed to be so that everything can work out to your advantage. Let life take you places and let the experience of life flow through you freely. Keep in mind that you're as old as your lifestyle choices. Your cells stop fully regenerating around the age of 23. This is the moment where you're no longer growing and you slowly start aging, but the rate of mental and physical decline is your choice. I will explain in a separate video what Machine Elves told me about human nutrition, but remember that you have complete control over how much time you'll spend being healthy and full of energy. As with everything else, psychedelics became a wonderful medicine that allowed me to understand the nature of the passage of time. Mushrooms let me be myself again, and they allow me to go back in time to different stages of my life, giving me the opportunity to review and relive them. They let me be a little boy again, and then they let me go back to being a teenager. And if you ever feel that you're stuck at a particular stage, or if you want to understand where your life is heading, I would strongly recommend psychedelic support. If you ask me, I wish we could live our lives backwards. Getting healthier every day, starting our lives with our heads full of wisdom, knowing exactly what it is that we want to do in life, getting more and more energy accomplishing it. But since it's not realistic, we should learn to respect the value of growing up, developing, and aging. The outcome of your life at the end will depend on all of its quality, and the result will be about how you handled your growth and development. Machine Elves told me, the reason you need to respect people is because when you look at them and when you interact with them, you're dealing with a huge compilation of effort and experiences from the past. You're looking at sorrows, tears, and struggles. You're looking at a collection of years and decades of their efforts. Have respect for them as you're walking the same path, and remember that you're right behind them. Love 434. I will continue talking about mistakes of the past on my second YouTube channel. Click the link in the right upper corner or go to the video description and subscribe. Support 434 through methods listed on this screen and the links listed in the video description. It is crucial to share this video with others so that they understand their own lives better. Remember to leave your email address at news.b434.com to be up to date with the latest 434 information. Subscribe, like, and share this video. Visit the websites of the artist and the musician I featured in this video. Remember about b434.com and join 434 social media on YouTube, Facebook, BitChute, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and VK. Talk to each other on Discord, Telegram, and Reddit. All links in the video description.